In a poor countryside village lived a young couple. Lan and Du. Their life was miserable. Meals often nothing but vegetables with salt. Wandering everywhere looking for shelter, they finally rented an old, shabby house at the edge of the hamlet, surrounded by thick bamboo groves. At first glance, the house looked normal, but the moment one stepped inside, a gloomy, chilling aura crept into the skin. On the very first night, as the wind howled through broken shutters, Lan heard faint tapping sounds echoing from the dark corners. Du said it was just rats, though his eyes flickered uneasily. From the roof came the heavy sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, pressing onto each rotting tile. Day after day, the air grew heavier. Lan often felt eyes staring at her back, but when she turned, no one was there. At midnight, she clearly heard sighs of despair coming from the kitchen, where a moldy water jar reeked with damp, foul odor. At first, they reassured themselves it was imagination. But the longer they stayed, the more bizarre the happenings became, as if the house itself was hiding a dreadful secret. That night, the countryside was engulfed in darkness, lit only by a dim oil lamp on the table. The rented house was damp, its mossy roof leaking, walls peeling and cracked. The cold wind creaked through the shutters. Lan had just lain down when suddenly, a faint sound rose from the veranda, like the sobbing of a child. At first distant and vague, it grew closer, each sob ripping the silence apart. Startled, she sat upright, eyes straining toward the pitch-black yard. Nothing. Only the beetle trees swayed, whispering in the breeze. She swallowed hard, convincing herself she had misheard. But then, the sob returned, this time with a weak, trembling voice. "Mommy!" Her whole body froze, goosebumps crawling over her skin. Heart pounding, she shook her husband awake, but Du slept soundly, oblivious. The call grew clearer, repeated again and again, choking right outside the veranda. Lan felt as though something stood out there, staring straight into the house. She dared not move, dared not close her eyes, curling under the blanket while that sorrowful child's cry echoed in her ears. A sound not belonging to the living world. Du was a young, practical man, strong and skeptical. He never believed in ghosts or superstitions. Each time Lan tremblingly recounted the cries in the night, or the whisper of someone calling from the veranda, Du laughed, waving it off. He said it was just the wind whistling through cracks, or stray cats crying in the dark. "You've been working too hard. Your mind is playing tricks," he said firmly, urging her to rest. But fear lingered in Lan's eyes. She swore the sound was real, so close it chilled her blood. Every time she heard it, her chest tightened, limbs turned ice cold. Yet Du remained stubborn, certain it was only her imagination. That denial slowly created a rift between them. Lan felt utterly alone in the very house they shared, for her terror found no sympathy. Meanwhile, Du's stubbornness blinded him to the truth, that those cries were not illusions. Something was lurking in the shadows, waiting to reveal itself. Their neighbor, an old woman who rarely spoke, one day stopped at their gate, eyes full of unease. In a low, trembling whisper, she said. "That house, it isn't clean. Others lived there before, but none lasted long." With that, she hurried away, leaving behind a heavy silence. Lan shivered, clutching her shirt tightly, the chill crawling down her spine. All those sleepless nights with weeping sounds and phantom footsteps seemed to find explanation. Yet Du only scoffed, calling it village superstition. "We're poor. As long as it shelters us, why care about gossip?" Still, the neighbor's gaze haunted Lan, filled with both pity and fear, as though she had witnessed unspeakable things. That night, as the oil lamp flickered weakly, shadows spreading across cracked walls, Lan couldn't shake the thought. This house truly concealed a horrifying secret. In those uneasy days, Lan began dreaming strange, terrifying dreams. One night, she found herself inside the house, surrounded by suffocating darkness and the stench of blood. At the end of the hallway stood a boy, small and frail, his clothes torn, body drenched in blood, eyes bulging with despair. Limping toward her, he cried out, his voice echoing in agony, "Mommy, help me!" The sound tore through her soul, freezing her in place. She tried to move, but her legs stiffened. The boy staggered closer, his cold, tiny hands clutching her shirt, leaving crimson smears. His face twisted with pain and resentment, his eyes filled with endless grievance. She screamed and jolted awake, drenched in sweat. The room was pitch black, silent except for her ragged breath. Du slept soundly, unaware. Yet Lan still smelled the iron tang of blood lingering in the air. And somewhere, faintly, that voice still whispered, "Mommy!" At first, she thought the nightmares would fade. But the longer she stayed, the more her mind unraveled. Each night, the bloody child appeared, crying, begging at her side. She woke in terror, her body trembling, heart pounding wildly. Sleepless nights hollowed her face, her eyes sunken with dark circles. By day, she swore she heard tiny footsteps scurrying, only to vanish into silence. Sometimes, in the mirror, a fleeting glimpse of a small figure appeared, gone when she turned. Her husband tried to console her, but even he grew uneasy at her frail, ghostly appearance. Lan no longer dared be alone. Even the wind whistling through cracks made her shudder. Her health withered, her mind frayed. It felt as though she was being pulled into an invisible abyss, unsure if she could ever escape, or even know what was real anymore. That night, silence filled the room, broken only by the ticking clock. Du lay restless when suddenly, he heard it, a cry, at first faint like wind, then clearer, louder, wailing, piercing. He sat up, heart pounding, straining his ears. The sound drifted from the veranda cloaked in darkness. With trembling hands, he slid the door open. A cold gust rushed in, carrying moldy stench. Outside, moonlight cast eerie blotches on the ground like faint blood stains. He stared hard, nothing, no one, only the sobbing near and far, taunting him. Du's grip whitened on the doorframe. He wanted to believe it was cats, was wind, but deep down doubt gnawed. He remembered Lan's trembling tales of the crying child. He had dismissed her, but now he himself heard it. From that moment, fear rooted inside him. He realized the truth. They were not alone in this house. One dusky evening, whispers from the villagers reached their ears. An old man, eyes cloudy with secrets, recounted the chilling tale. Years ago, another young family had lived there with a small son. Then tragedy struck. The boy died violently, unjustly. None knew the details, but the grief was so deep. His cries were said to linger in the very walls. Passers-by often heard a child's wails in the night, calling for his mother. But none dared speak, fearing to invite misfortune. Land trembled, while dew swallowed hard. They now understood the cries were real. The ghost of a child, bound in sorrow, still haunted the home. From that moment, the darkness within the house thickened, suffocating them. Villagers whispered a dreadful truth. The child's spirit still roamed, searching for his mother. Women who lived there always heard his cries at midnight. Soft sobs at first, then closer, louder, until it felt like a child standing right behind, whispering, "Mommy!" Some even woke to see a boy of 4 or 5 sitting at their bedside, eyes wide, brimming with tears, silently pleading for an embrace. Fear clung to the house. Rumor said, any woman entering it would eventually hear his desperate call. For the child's spirit, forever searching, had yet to find his mother. That night, the house trembled with unearthly cries. Lan sat in a corner, eyes vacant, her voice broken. "My child, where's my child?" It was no longer her voice, but something speaking through her. Her wails echoed through the walls, chilling Dew's blood. Candles flickered wildly, shadows swarming. He rushed to hold her, but she fought back, clutching an invisible child. Incense smoke curled thick in the air, mingling with cries that suffocated the room. Dew realized then the ghost was real, possessing his wife. Terrified, he ran outside, shouting for help. Neighbors rushed in, their faces pale with horror. There was no choice but to summon a shaman. Without exorcism, Lan would never be freed. That night, in the suffocating room, incense smoke and icy air mingled. Dew sat pale beside Lan as the shaman prepared the altar. Offerings, flowers, water, a gleaming bronze mirror. The rhythmic chants and wooden bell filled the house, blending with the wind's howl. Suddenly, candles flickered violently. The shaman frowned, chanting deeper. This child, his grievance still binds him. He seeks his mother, but his resentment holds him here. Dew shuddered. Lan trembled, whispering for her child. A faint cry rose from the corner, clear, haunting. The shaman lit a talisman, burning it to smoke, forcing the spirit to recede. The cries faded, silence returned, but his voice warned sternly. This ritual only restrains him for a while. If his grievance isn't released, he will return, stronger. The room fell into heavy silence. They knew the nightmare wasn't over. The following nights, though quiet, the air remained heavy with dread. Every creak, every gust chilled their blood. At dusk, Lan often wept suddenly, whispering to a child unseen. One stormy night, pounding knocks rattled the door. Dew opened, no one. A gust blew out their lamp. Lan clung to him, trembling. He's still here. That was the final straw. They packed hurriedly and abandoned the house. From then, it stood hollow and dark, overgrown with weeds. Villagers avoided its gaze. Even mentioning it brought shivers down spines. The house became a scar on the village's memory. Whispers lingered. Some spirits never fade.